Ma and Pops. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the watch party here. It's a Thursday on the show, on the stream. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is something I think a little bit new. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm checking out the stream really fast, see what you guys are saying. But I'm glad you guys are here. I'm in a weird mood right now. There's a lot flowing through my brain. I'm kind of amped up and I'm also extremely exhausted. Do you guys know about this whole feature? It's not like a new feature. I just decided to finally start using it. There's a posts section on YouTube pages, and people can just post pictures, say what they want, similar to where you can post on other social media platforms. But I'm gonna start posting things on there. Just the energy and the craziness that I've got going through my head right now is perfectly wrapped up, and it's an image of what I've got happening here. I know it's not a Friday and it's not a find your drinks Friday, but this is a Nas kind of day for me. So I want to make sure you guys understand for any reasons why I'm going to lose my mind here today is just partially the reason. I'm going to crack this open for you guys first as we get started. There's so much that I wanted to get to, and I kept prepping and I kept prepping and I kept prepping. I feel like my hand is shaking from how crazy I am right now. There's so much going on, and I don't think we really fully know or can fully cover all the things that are continuing to happen every day in this country. Disastrous things. Don't get me wrong. Maybe it seems like I'm in a great mood for the good things going on, but the disastrous things that have happened, that continue to happen, the fallout from them, the responses to them, all that we're seeing everywhere as we miss some very, very important things that are going to affect everyone's lives. So, oh, geez, I have to take a deep breath before I start this. Hey, what's up, Ma? Did you guys know that yesterday was my mother's birthday? She's 78 years old. We did a live also later in the day yesterday. Of course, everyone showed up and a couple of extras. So I hope those folks that saw us for the first time understand what we're going to be doing. And if you're here for the first time, how you doing? I think we're going to have an interesting time. So let's just get started here. Um, a lot happened yesterday, right? Matter of fact, did you guys hear about that shooting?
We're going on like 60, 70.
You guys.
Yo, ring the doorbell. Oh, please. I know these people. Hey. Keep running. Oh. I'm not throwing. Can we ring? Yeah, go in. Go in.
Yes, if you hadn't heard, there was a shooting in the Denver area in Colorado at another high school. We keep seeing these things happen. In case you guys didn't hear about it, here's NBC News talking about what a lot of people didn't hear about.
Terror on the campus of Evergreen High School, 30 miles west of Denver.
Use caution. Active shooter still down at the high school.
A massive emergency response after a shooter opened fire right about noon. Students evacuating the school as police rushed in.
We now have 2 students performing CPR.
The sheriff's department says 3 victims were rushed to St. Anthony Hospital in Denver. One of them, the shooter.
One patient has non-life-threatening injuries and is stable. The other 2 are critically injured.
It happened in Jefferson County, Colorado, also home to Columbine High School, where 16 people were massacred in 1999. Among the worst high school shootings in history. And it comes amid a violent start to the school year. 23 people shot nationwide, including 2 who died. Colorado Governor Polis posting on X today, students should be able to attend school safely and without fear across our state and nation. We are all praying for the victims and the entire community.
Another school shooting in the Denver area, specifically, in the Colorado and state, but also specifically near Denver. There's a bit of a history now going on with this area and school shootings. It's devastating. more people traumatized. Another school shooter who apparently killed himself as well. It's kind of like the MO of how these things go. I think we should hear from the accounts of some of the people that were traumatized by this shooting, children and families, and folks that feel like they probably can never go back to school and feel the same anymore. I mean, it's not an uncommon story, but still, watch.
We just heard a bunch of gunshots, probably like 15 to 30, and we just sprinted.
It was a lot. I couldn't really explain it. It's just I was scared to death and speechless.
It just is so frustrating and maddening that this keeps happening.
We were actually supposed to have a drill like a week ago, and it got canceled.
Yeah, so none of the freshmen knew what to do.
We saw tens of kids and teachers running up the hill screaming.
We hid right around the door corner where they told us to hide. There's a guy there. He yelled some things, and he shot at us at least twice.
Accounts from folks that literally saw someone shooting at them, hiding in corners, running out of the school. That first video had kids running to a neighbor's house where they were fleeing and looking for some kind of safety at some point when they won't get shot at anymore. I've got details of some of the things that these folks saw. I think it's important to have wall-to-wall coverage, to have people constantly talking about a shooting that happened yesterday on Wednesday that affected so many more children in our country, and there's probably another one today. There should be wall-to-wall coverage. We should be talking to crime analysts. We should be talking to people who knew these students that were affected. We should be talking to aunts and uncles. We should be talking about their family history. We should be talking about things, how they're never going to be the same again, how they've got, parents, they've got sisters, they've got brothers, they've got babies at home, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to continue to go on because they're traumatized. And every time they may even see or hear someone mention a gun, they might have a response in their gut that takes them right back to that place when they thought they were about to die. I wonder if we can have a day when it's wall-to-wall coverage about another shooting. I mean, we never really have wall-to-wall coverage from the moment of the shooting happening throughout the night and all the way into the next day and for the next week about a shooting, do we? On every network, constantly talking about how innocent these children are. One of them's name is Ethan Ramirez. He's 16 years old. He told the Denver Post that he was eating lunch at Evergreen High's cafeteria when this announcement on the intercom caught his attention. He couldn't quite hear the message though, but around him, other students started to walk out of the cafeteria. Then he heard a loud bang, and then he started to run. He said, "I heard gunshots right behind me." He sprinted out of the school, running as hard as he could. He crowded through a door with scores of other students, is what he said. He then ran along a dirt path. He looked over at the school, he said, and he saw a person he thought was the shooter. He said he was walking. He wasn't running. I saw him shooting right at us. That's a pretty horrible scene to be seen from Ethan Ramirez, who's only 16 years old. Looked back and saw someone stalking them like some kind of, horror movie killer. Not running, not in any kind of frantic pace the way that all these students were, but just walking and looking to mow people down. Here's more accounts for some wall-to-wall coverage. He and other students ran into a neighborhood where they hid inside a stranger's home. Potentially, it was from that first video of that Ring doorbell camera. And they hid in a bathroom. The neighbor pulled out 2 guns to protect them. After a couple of hours, police officers collected those students. More, "I'm a little shaken up. I'm pretty scared," he said. He's not sure he'll feel safe back at school. "I'm paranoid now that something is going to happen." 18 students who fled from the shooting took shelter at a home just down the road after an initial group of them pounded on the door asking for some help. Don Segan is that resident, and he's a retired educator familiar with lockdown trainings to prepare for possible shootings. He said he took down the names of all the students and the names of the parents who later arrived to pick them up, and his wife, who's a retired nurse, was able to calm the teens down and treat them for shock. Said, "I hope they feel like they ran to the right house." Luckily, they did. The guy had to pull out a couple of guns and was prepared for this. A former educator and his wife being a nurse. It maybe was the best situation for those kids to get to in a particular moment when you needed someone who's prepared in America, who's an educator, because you're an educator in America, you're prepared for shootings and potentially seeing your students die and also be shocked by the situation that they're seeing and feeling like they're in a war zone. Here's more, in case you guys didn't get enough of this wall-to-wall coverage. Emily Hiderson, a 17-year-old senior, went home for lunch about 30 minutes before the attack. She hugged friends in tears at the reunification site. She said, "It was just a normal expletive day, and now it's gone. I was so close to not going home for lunch. And if I didn't, I could have died." She said the students haven't had a lockdown drill yet this year. One that had been scheduled was canceled for a medical emergency, as those other students talked about. Her mom said her daughter came to the site because she was worried about her friends. Also, you feel so helpless. There's nothing we can do. I remember Tim Burchett, representative from Tennessee, said, "We're not going to do anything." And these students who've been affected by yet another shooting years later said, "I feel like I'm helpless." Here's the last slide of some of these details of what these children went through. Tasha Williams, a mom to a freshman student, said her daughter called about the shooter, frantic and searching for her friend. Williams told her to stay calm and stay put. "I always taught them, like, if you hear anything, get down and pretend you're dead," is what her mom said. "I shouldn't have to do that, but that's the world that we live in." That's the world we live in. It continues to be the world we live in. It also continues to be the place where people talk about more of what it is that they want to do to other folks. Colorado has, this area specifically, but also Colorado has a bit of a history. I know it happens all over the country, but this kind of stood out to me. It stuck out to me, because this is one of those situations where we see this continue to happen, and we kind of forget that it's possible for people to experience it over and over again. I think there was the Virginia Tech shooting from years ago, where one kid experienced the shooting in high school, went off to Virginia Tech, and experienced another one there. You maybe thought he was trying to get away from where he lived because maybe he felt he was no longer safe there, but he goes to a completely different state and experiences the same damn thing. Here's an account here. Colorado is a state known for several devastating shootings since the 1999 massacre at Columbine High. From Aurora, where 12 people were killed at a movie theater in 2012, to an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs where 5 were fatally shot, and the mass shooting at King Soopers in Boulder, and that killed 10. How many of you guys forgot about some of those? I think many folks will always remember the nightclub in Colorado Springs. That was horrific. Also the other one in Orlando, but specifically in Colorado, no one generally tends to forget about Columbine. It was one of the biggest stories. It was one of the first times that became such a norm for that stuff to happen. That was in 1999. I think that was the movie theater one. Yeah, the movie theater was in 2012. It keeps happening, and we're trying to figure out when exactly this is going to stop. Put yourself in these folks' shoes. This grandfather of 2 twin brothers attending 10th grade at this school from yesterday said that he was in shock after learning his family was touched by gun violence for the second time in 5 years. Mike Webb, whose ex-wife was one of the 8 people killed in the 2021 Atlanta area spa shootings, you remember that one? Said the boy's father texted him that an active shooter was at the school, but the brothers were safe. One of the boys was in the main hallway when the shooting broke out, and he just ran. The other boy was outside of the music room, and he ran too, but he ran into police who had weapons drawn. And luckily, they didn't think he was a part of this shooting, or maybe more gunfire would have rung out. So good job on them for being the safety valve for these children who've experienced this multiple times. Did we pick up on the fact that guy's ex-wife was one of the people that was killed? And then now he's talking about how his grandsons had to deal with this as well. Trauma on top of trauma. This is another crazy stat. I'm not even gonna bring this one up. But again, from that Columbine shooting in 1999, there was a woman who died earlier this year from complications from her injuries from that shooting back in 1999, 26 years ago. It's still taking people's lives. So I just want to point out, if we have wall-to-wall constant coverage and run sad music and talk to the friends and families of victims constantly and give accounts of these children and their lost loved ones' lives and the great things that they could have done with the rest of their lives, maybe we'll have enough empathy to start trying to prevent these things from happening rather than just saying, we need to pray. Maybe on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC News, CBS News, and NBC News, and the nightly news, and the morning news, and the afternoon news, and the mid-afternoon news, and the brunch news. Maybe if they talk about this constantly, maybe these children and these families will be humanized. I mean, they're really good at humanizing people, I think, especially yesterday. Elizabeth Warren also posted about this. I want to really highlight what Elizabeth Warren was saying. She said, students were eating lunch when they heard the gunshots. It's yet another horrific school shooting. And every time my heart breaks for the kids, parents, and communities shattered by gun violence. We can't stop demanding change. Congress can and must pass gun safety legislation. We hear it every time. And we just need people that are willing to join in on that fight. So she was asked about shootings from yesterday, and this is what she had to say on camera.
This is just wrong, and my heart goes out to his family, to his friends, but we just cannot be a country that turns to violence when we disagree. We just can't.
What can Congress do about it, Senator?
Well, one thing Congress can do is gun safety, and every time there's a killing, the Republicans say this is not the time to talk about gun safety, and yet we have to. As a nation, we have more gun deaths than most other nations, and we don't keep our children, our friends, our neighbors safe by just putting ordinary gun safety rules in place. You know, I just want to say this coming from Massachusetts. If the rest of the country would just follow the rules we follow in Massachusetts, we could reduce fatalities all over this country. And plenty of people who are hunters and who use guns for sport still have lots of activities in Massachusetts. But at least we make it a little tougher to use guns for harming other human beings.
What about that sentiment and that plan and that idea is offensive? What part about it is offensive? If you've had the opportunity to feel like these folks who are always affected by this are humanized. If you hear politicians talk about Chicago and murders over the weekend, do you stop, or do you think they stop and go, man, 7 people got murdered over the weekend. Wow, they've got families. They've got 2 young children at home. Wow, they've got a wife. Man, they were only 31 years old. Way too young. Wow, he had a job. You know what? People loved him. You know what? He graduated. You know what? He had these great moments. You know, next year he was planning to buy a house. Do any of those thoughts go through your mind? And do you really think those thoughts go through the people's minds who use them as a stat to say they want to commit more violence on the American people? Or do they just think this is great? We need more of this because I need more political power. And the way to scare more people is to point out these human beings and say that them being victims of gun violence is a way for me to commit more of the violence and call it crime prevention. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Elizabeth Warren was asked exactly what I was tired of people asking folks. And I'm glad she was just as tired of it as I am.
What do you say to people who are saying the Democrats need to lower the temperature?
Oh,
talking
please.
about things and, you know.
Right. Why don't you start with the President of the United States? Right. And every ugly meme he has posted and every ugly word. He is the leader of this nation. And I think that when he's posting things like he did just a couple of days ago, trying to show an entire city on fire, and a reference to helicopters, in effect, throwing people out of helicopters and showing himself as some kind of big chest beating threat. Then I just don't want to hear this from the Republicans.
Do you think politicians on both sides have a role to play here, though, in trying to turn the rhetoric down?
I think what we have to say is, A, violence is not the answer, and we are willing to take steps so that violence in this country is not so lethal. Do we have a single Republican who will stand up and join us following the school shooting out in Denver at the same time? School shootings happen every single day. They have become commonplace in this country. It's hard now to actually get attention when someone has been mowed down with a gun, and Congress could change that and should change that.
But they're mad at Elizabeth Warren for saying that, because she brought up the story that I've been talking about for the past 20 minutes. No one's paying attention to the regular folks who are being mowed down because you don't know their names. And now there's anger towards her. And the question is always, do you think your side needs to tone down the rhetoric just because so many folks follow behind someone who this is somehow considered a funny guy?
You know, in the old days, boom, firing squad. No, it's true. Boom, gun, bang, bing, bong. When we were strong, bing, and it goes quickly, right? It's called, you're dead. You know, in the old.
Funny guy. I wonder when the Democrats are going to tone down their rhetoric. Fuck him. Let's move on, because I wanted to cover the shooting from yesterday that nobody's covering. Wall to wall. Okay. Have you guys heard lately about Trump's economy? The way things are going, how he's affecting people's businesses, their lives, all that stuff, income, prices of goods, employment numbers, inflation. Have we checked in yet? I'd like to check in.
We're just absolutely fucked as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariff, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the fucking ground because it's fucking useless. It's valueless. There's nothing I can fucking do to it. I am going to need government assistance to make it through this fucking crisis until these tariffs end. Look, I've never raised a splorn crop like this, guys. And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm going to survive. Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're fucked.
That's a satirical video that's been going around. It showed up in my feed of a farmer talking about how he's fucked, how Trump's economy has destroyed his crop, how he has nowhere to go with the things that he's grown, how all of the money and investment he put into his business is going nowhere. They need a buyout. So, it was pretty obvious. There was sad music behind it, that this guy was making fun, and it must not really be happening because these are just jokes. That is until you talk to, real farmers who are saying the same damn thing. Maybe you guys have seen this guy. This is from months ago. This did not just start just now in August. when we started seeing more farmers talk about this. This is from earlier in the year.
I need your help to save my farm and many other farms. I wanted to give you guys an update on what we figured out with our contract through NRCS. So to give you some backstory, if you haven't watched the previous video, please go out, watch that previous video I've got on there. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. But the issue I have is I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the material, already paid for the labor, so I'm out all that cost, and I use my farm operating expenses in order to do those projects, because per contract, I knew that I was going to get cost sharing refunds on the stuff once completed, but now that it's completed, they're saying that they're unable to provide the funds because of the freeze on the Inflation Reduction Act funds. So I reached out to a couple different senators and Congress people. So I reached out to Ann Wagner's office. I have not heard back from them. I reached out to Josh Hawley's office. I have heard back from him, not from him personally, but from his office. And they are looking into it because they said that this should not be happening.
I wonder how long they've been looking into that. Like I said, that was months ago. Could have been like April or so, maybe even May at the latest. People are on the verge of losing their farms. They put so much money in things. And for some reason, when people were inserted into this White House and told to raid the system and find fraud, waste, and abuse, they took away things like the Inflation Reduction Act that helped farmers. And the Inflation Reduction Act was put in place before Donald Trump came into office and said, why would I do that? It's not like I give a damn. And then things like this happen. I'm gonna show you guys one more video. I showed it the other day, so apologies for the repetition, but I really want to drive the point home, because wall-to-wall coverage always works.
Right now, we're in a very dire situation. September's upon us. Harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field. Historically, over the last 5 years, about a third of soybean sales to China would be booked. China amounts to 25% of our total U.S. soybean crop. So that would be 8 or 9% of the whole U.S. crop would normally be on the books with China right now, and we have 0. That is alarming. The farm economy as a whole is struggling. Inflation has caused our cost of production to rise drastically on every front. Commodity prices, in particular soybeans, are down about 50% from where they were 3 years ago. And our numbers are deeply in the red. And we send this letter to President Trump because we've been talking for months about needing to have sales in place, a deal in place, a phase 2 type agreement that has purchase commitments along with a level playing field on trade with no tariffs. And we haven't had anything happen, unfortunately. And our appeal to President Trump and his administration is make soybeans a priority in any trade negotiations that are taking place. Soybeans are the #1 agriculture export to China. And in the last trade war, it was 71% of the losses that we had as American farmers. And they're critical.
Who wants to sell to China? Deep, dark red China. Who wants to sell to them? Again, I know we saw that video before. I just want to drive the point home before then. This situation with farmers. Sometimes there's these wild-eyed libs. Sometimes they have pink hair. You know how they make fun of libs and claim that they've got wild hair colors and they don't think clearly, and all they do is speak emotionally. Sometimes, every once in a while, there's this young TikToker who I'm sure is not the only one that's pointed out this clear reality, which I'm going to give you guys more examples of behind. But here she is talking about this situation that many of these farmers find themselves in.
Wonder how long it's going to take the Republican farmers to realize that Trump and JD Vance bought stocks in companies that buy up land, aka farmland, and they made the tariffs so that you would lose your land so that they could buy your land and make money. No bailouts are coming.
One of these emotional libs going to stop talking? When are these emotional people that don't know anything about business, that haven't bankrupted 7 fucking companies like our president has, when are they going to finally figure out how these things work? Except maybe she's on to something. Because it's true. JD Vance did fund Acre Trader, and there's lots of details as to why it matters. It's a real estate platform, and it streamlines investing in U.S. farmland. So farms are fast becoming a portfolio staple for investors. Where in America first, or does that word say worldwide? Let me show you guys how this works. Some of the most pristine farmland in California can be yours, at least by proxy, in just a matter of minutes. That's the promise that Acre Trader, a company with the mission of simplifying investing in valuable U.S. farmland, makes to prospective financiers. Oh, there's more. That's just how it starts. Acre Trader is just one of many companies launched in the past decade that facilitate the sale of farmland, which has increasingly become a staple in investor portfolios. Recently, it was revealed that this includes the investment portfolio of vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance. It says the Republican senator from Ohio. Do you know why this article says it's the Republican senator from Ohio? Is because before he actually became vice president, this article is from September of 2024, before enough people voted this guy and his running mate into office to come destroy our economy so they can buy it up, and then turn this into fascist presidential owned businesses like he's already beginning to do, that we've also overlooked. This was a plan well into an advance. Do we now understand why the Heritage Foundation was so amped that J.D. Vance, with their hand-picked choice for vice president, was picked up by Donald Trump? In fact, when they told Donald Trump, listen, you're following the playbook includes J.D. Vance. Pick him up, because this is where we're going with this. Oh, there's more, you guys. Vance invested up to $65,000 in private investment in Acre Trader during his stint as a venture capitalist. That's according to his 2022 financial disclosure to the Senate Ethics Committee. The investment firm Naira Capital, pay attention, you guys, which Vance launched in 2020 with backing from PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, was a vehicle for these investments and a key backer in early funding rounds of the farmland startup. And while Vance is no longer listed as a partner in Naira Capital, according to his 2023 financial disclosure, he appears to still be an investor in the firm, or more technically, multiple legal entities with names, including Naira. Now we've got Peter Thiel in the mix, another person who's rabidly MAGA, another billionaire who's rabidly MAGA and supports these guys in everything that they do. Can't lie worth a damn, as we can see straight through their corruption and backroom dealings. But now he's partnered up with J.D. Vance. It's like this was a plan to fuck over enough people and take their stuff. Here's more. There's no indication that Vance has divested from Acre Trader, and there's every indication that that investment remains in place. That's what the executive director of True North Research, which is an investigative research group, said. She points to how Vance sold off his stock in Naira, quote, Naira Capital Management, LLC in 2023, but that's not the same as the similarly named investment vehicles used to invest in Acre Trader. One more. Acre Trader streamlines the process of investing in valuable farmland across the U.S. and Australia, from the flooded rice fields of the Mississippi Delta to the vast tracts of high-yielding corn in the Midwest, by placing the farmland in a limited liability corporation, as we know as an LLC. Quote, you can then purchase shares in that LLC through a simple online process that takes just minutes. That's what the company explains in a tutorial video to these prospective investors. It's so simple, even a caveman can do it. Acre Trader handles the administrative details for you and works with experienced farmers to manage the land. I wonder, this is what I don't know. I do wonder if those experienced farmers that they're going to use to manage the land were formerly farmers that owned this land, or maybe farmers that farmed on these lands that were owned by normal people that were farmers. I wonder if those are the experienced people that they're then going to have organize and run these farms as these investment people with a whole bunch of money just go online and with a click of a button take your land. I wonder. Curious, because we also do remember when the bailouts were happening, there was a slanted approach to which farms got bailed out. And I remember Black owned farms were the first to get excluded from the mix. I remember that because they figured, well, let's start with the folks that we've always screwed over and hated in the rest of the country. We've already convinced there's always the criminals and the people that we're afraid of. Let's go after them first. But it's weird how when people ignore that problem as it happened, then when it goes to folks that we just saw complaining about losing their farms, they're not the same skin tone. Because capitalists don't care. Their favorite color is green. And after they start with what they've told you is the least desirable color of skin, they then come after your ass too. I lied. There's actually one more slide. This is important. This ownership model makes it hard to tell who invested in the farmland, and therefore more challenging to evaluate ethical conflicts and other risks of this investment. Vance is listed as an investor and acre trader, not the individual LLCs. That's according to his Senate disclosure forms. So if you bring this up and you say, yo, you guys are profiting, you guys are using your political influence and your place in the White House to fuck us over, take our land, and Vance, you're making money off of this, and Peter Thiel making money off this, and Donald Trump making money off this, and anyone else whose shadowy names, which are also probably included in that Epstein list, can make money off of this, it's really hard to track exactly who you are so that there's easy deniability. It's the American way. Steal from folks. I'm sorry, destroy their lives because you have the power to. As many of these farmers are now committing suicide, and others just getting out of the business, and others having to sell off their businesses for whatever they can salvage because they're so invested in all their whole life is in it. There's someone with a whole bunch of money who's like, here, I'll take that off your hands. No more burdens for you. But still, that's just the farmers. And the reason why I care so much, even though I'm not a farmer, is because, I'm one of these regular people that's affected by even what Fox Business said.
American dream is looking more like a nightmare for some working families. New research finding that the lifetime cost of hitting the traditional milestones, things like home ownership, retirement, kids' college, healthcare, weddings, cars, vacations, etc., now totals a staggering $5 million. And here's the kicker. Americans haven't gotten any richer over the last 5 years. Wages flat, savings weak, costs through the roof. Kenny, when I just have conversations with real people about how they're feeling, they don't focus on the inflation rate or the data or a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the technical aspect of the markets here.
Right.
What they tell me is this: you've seen prices go up, this rate of inflation, okay, that's come down, but the prices never came down.
Right.
And I didn't make more money. And so the value of my dollar essentially deflated. A lot of people, stock market investing has become more ubiquitous with Robinhood and all of these things. And during the pandemic, because people felt like they were chasing the inflation rate. If you just left your money sitting in a savings account or a CD, you're getting completely crushed.
Completely crushed.
So all that money pours into the stock market. The stock market keeps going up, but people aren't necessarily getting richer because of how much more everything costs.
Right. Right. I mean, they might be seeing.
And they're taking risk.
Correct. They're taking risk. Probably some of them are taking more risk than they should. But they're trying to play catch up, right? Because the money that they're saving, they're trying to put to work to them. But to your point, the everyday costs remain elevated. Prices, while they've stopped going up at the rate that they were going, have remained elevated.
It's weird that was said a long time ago. This is where we'd be. But there was a businessman that's in the White House, and he's destroyed every business he's ever touched. He might as well destroy this country while taking your money anyway, because he's now in a better position to be a complete failure and not have to actually pay for it. It's also like something he said that why would I have to pay my debts when I can easily manipulate the system and have someone else pay it? It's literally his way of doing business. Screw things up and then have someone else foot the bill. How many people does this guy owe? Rudy Giuliani is like on like he's going to be in the poverty line, still waiting for his couple $1,000,000 from Donald Trump that he owes. His best friend, Rudy, the best mayor in the world. So I just want to show you guys one last piece we of this. I talked a minute about Elizabeth Warren, and when she speaks the truth, how they like to flip her words and flip her actions and her intentions to make it seem like she's the bad guy. I want to show you guys something. This is Donald Trump talking about Elizabeth Warren. And remember, we're talking about farmers. And I just explicitly laid down how they're screwing over farmers and how that will benefit them financially and continue to not give a damn about anyone else in this country. But look at how he thinks he can be this divisive and talk about someone who's trying to fight for regular people and use all those scary divisive terms that these folks are saying that Democrats' rhetoric should change, or else there can be more of these political style shootings. The same type of approach apparently doesn't apply to him. But these are his thoughts on farms.
Elizabeth Warren said she was an Indian. We call her Pocahontas. She's a liar. She lied her whole career. Based on the fact that she was an Indian, she was able to get into certain colleges, get certain jobs, get into certain universities to work there. She's a liar and a mean person. She's a nut job. I watched her the other night. She's all hopped up endorsing a communist in New York City. And she was all excited and jumping up and down. She's got to take a drug test. She really does. She's got to take a drug test. There's no way somebody can act that way and be normal. What she's done to our financial institutions, she destroys people. You know that you had a lot of great banks in the Midwest and banks that loaned to farmers and others, and they went out of business. She put them out of business. Stone cold mean. Banks that were open 150 years, family banks that supplied the farmers and manufacturers and others, and she put them out of business. She's a mean, horrible human being. Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders. I don't mind him so much.
I'm going to go through all the names that he just called her. I want you guys to remember, Elizabeth Warren was just asked, when are the Democrats going to tone down their rhetoric so we could have fewer of these political shootings? Liar. Pocahontas lied her whole career. A nut job. A mean person. A communist. A drug addict. Not normal. Destroys people. Puts banks out of business. A stone cold, mean, despicable person. I wonder how that rhetoric is going when it comes to toning it down and attacking one of the few people who's telling you the truth about what these banks that she's putting out of business are doing to farmers. As we just saw what he's doing to farmers, as that piece of shit JD Vance stands right behind him and giggles and is making money off of their future investments in taking these things over. But if you call enough names, you'll convince enough hateful people that you're right and this other person is evil. And then when something bad happens, you say, I can't believe these Democrats are talking so bad about us. I can't believe they have this wild, fiery rhetoric. But he'll brag about his name calling on the campaign trail. They're not hiding any of it. You just have to be willing to accept the lies that they're telling you. None of that made any sense that he was talking about, but he definitely laid into about 15 names for her to demonize her so that you won't believe her. Her credibility goes down in the eyes of people who kiss his orange ass. So we're literally selling the country away to people who are continuing to invade it. And speaking of invasions, here's the last story, you guys. Donald Trump has been in DC for 30 days. Remember, that's the deadline. That's the deadline for when he has to get his ass out, when he has to take his National Guard out, and when he has to stop federalizing the troops, and when he has to stop roving through the communities and claiming all of this safety. But a couple other folks, I want to highlight Democrats that are actually fighting. Here's a couple of them. And starting with Representative Melanie Stansbury. I love Representative Stansbury. She's one of the few people who also fights and says it very clear and plain. Here's a minute and a half video of her in this House hearing talking to James Comer about these new plans they have. Pay attention. See if you can follow what she's letting us know is happening in DC.
On a day in which we are hearing a set of bills that have not so much as had a single public hearing. Let me just emphasize that. Not a single bill on this docket has had a public hearing as of yet. And I don't think that it is any mistake that this markup to vote these bills out of committee is happening on the last day that Donald Trump has ordered our nation's National Guard to occupy this city. There are no coincidences here, folks. So I have some questions for the chairman because we don't actually have witnesses here to testify about these bills. So my first question for you, Mr. Chairman, is where did these bills come from? Where did this package come from?
We've been talking about these bills for a year now, and you know that, Ms. Stansbury.
But why is this package being brought forward today?
This is a markup. That's what, when you vote on bills.
I understand the congressional procedure, but why is this committee marking up a set of bills today without a hearing? Did the president ask you to do this?
We're debating the bills as we speak. That's what a markup is.
Mr. Comer, did the president ask you
I
to
haven't
hold
talked
this?
to the president.
Was this markup called pursuant to the president's occupation of Washington, D.C.?
We've had this markup on the books for a long time.
And so there
This is what
was
a
no
markup is.
coordination
You're
with
participating in a
there
markup.
was no coordination with the White House on this markup.
I haven't talked to the White House, but I mean,
So
there's
you
always
didn't consult with the
coordination.
White House
We
on this
support the
bill?
president's.
You
make
didn't consult
DC
with the
safe
White
again.
House on the development of a bill that would create the actual entity that he said he wanted?
Do you guys see what's going on? As she pointed out and starts grilling James Comer about which he's dodging the question on, which always gives you the nice highlight of it. This is on the last day. That's why she asked, why this day? And he flippantly acted like she doesn't know what a markup is and said, oh, I mean, what are you talking about? This is just a markup. Why on this day? Let me show you guys why on this specific day. These House Republicans are advancing these 14 bills to limit DC's autonomy during this expiring crime emergency that Donald Trump falsely called an emergency. So they're running out of time. They've run out of time. This was on Wednesday, running out of time to then continue their occupation of DC and to continue to claim that all this crime is happening. Because part of the pitch is to say that they've cleared the whole city of crime. It's all over. We've got 100% crime-free city. Well, shouldn't you get out now? But they don't want to get out. He wants to occupy this entire country, starting with major cities and definitely starting with Washington, D.C., where he plans to never leave. So here's some more details of what these markups, in assistance from these House Republicans, are looking to do. So all this is unfolding as his 30, as I just pointed out, his 30-day federal crime emergency formally expires. Coordination with federal law enforcement will continue. D.C. officials said this, but the Metropolitan Police Department will no longer take direct orders from the White House. They're losing their grip on the control that they have over DC, and they need to do something about it. So these 14 proposals collectively pose a sweeping rollback of local control and judicial reforms in DC. That's the plan. There's way too many of these things that they're no longer have control over, so they have to implement all these bills in order to formally, fully, and more permanently take it over. Here's Stansbury grilling him, more James Comer, and also the sponsor of these bills about what it is that they're doing. Watch them keep dodging like they're Neo from the Matrix.
Coordination with the White House on this
We
bill?
support what the president's done. We've sat back and watched, and we've seen the crime rate go down significantly in Washington, D.C., and we want to make sure that crime stays down in Washington, D.C.
But this
If you don't
bill
like the
here-
bill, you can vote against it.
No, I'm asking you a question because we haven't heard this bill. Was this bill drafted in coordination with the White House? I'm asking the question.
It's not my bill.
Okay, does the sponsor want to answer that question?
I would say that we support President Trump, and bottom
It's
line,
just a simple question. Did
we
you
want-
coordinate with the White House in the
people are dying
development
in
of
Washington,
this bill?
D.C.
Why can't
Crime
you
has
answer
been
the
cleaned
question?
up.
Mr.
and we wanna
Chairman,
keep
we
it
need
safe.
order. We need order, Mr. Chairman.
It's just a question.
This
Did
isn't-
you
this isn't a
coordinate
debate.
with
Mr. Chairman,
This
we need order.
actually is the debate. That
Ms.
is
Stansbury
exactly
is
what
out
a
of order.
markup is, my dear. This is a debate over the bill.
This should be common
Did you
sense. We're
guys
just trying to
coordinate-
keep the American people safe. They're dying in
I
D.C.
just asked you a
and we
simple
are looking.
question.
And
The
President
people
Trump's
of, the
plan
people
has
of
worked.
Washington, D.C.
So
are
we
here
are going to
hear
codify
from
what
you.
President Trump did to keep the American people safe.
Okay,
I don't
thank
care
you.
if you're a
That answers
Democrat,
the
Republican,
question.
or independent. We love you, but we've got to keep you safe.
He accidentally almost admitted it. Yes, we're going to codify everything that Donald Trump wants. And as she pointed out, there is no approach. There's no talking to other people about what it is that's needed or wanted in this city. This is them moving in pure lockstep to advance Donald Trump's agenda in controlling more things. He can't do it on his own. He has a fascist party, not just a fascist administration. Here's more of the dodging, but again, they never want to point out exactly what it is. All they have is false rhetoric about all this crime when Donald Trump just keeps telling us there's no more crime in DC, but they have to keep pushing this. But when someone asks them, which apparently they weren't expecting, they have to, lie.
Okay, let me ask you another question. I'm going to ask the sponsor this question. Have you ever been inside of City Hall? Yes or no?
I have not.
Have you ever attended a city council meeting here in Washington, D.C.?
I have spoken with people all over
Have you
DC
ever
and
attended a
restaurants and
city
everything
council
else.
meeting here in Washington, D.C.?
And they thank us that they can walk down the street and walk their dog and ride on a subway without getting stabbed.
Did you consult with the
Without being
mayor
part of
or
a
the
drive-by.
council or any members of
And
law
without people
enforcement
coming
in
out
the
of Baltimore
development
and other
of this bill?
places because they know the laws are too lax here and it's not safe.
I'm asking the sponsor of this bill, did you consult with the mayor or the city council in the development of this bill?
I consulted with the people of Washington, D.C.
You did. Can you tell us some of who you consulted with? Can you tell us who you consulted with, sir?
Congress has jurisdiction over Washington, D.C., but
No,
I
I'm
talked with
asking you a very simple question. Who did you consult
And
with?
I
Did
just
you
told you.
consult with
I just answered you, but you're
Did you
not-
consult with the law enforcement of Washington, D.C.?
I
in
talked
the
to police
development of
officers
this
as
bill?
well, yes.
I'm asking the
I did. I
gentleman
spoke with
who's-
law enforcement. I spoke with restaurant owners. I spoke with people walking their dogs all around D.C.
Oh, you
and they
you talked
said,
to people
thank
walking
God,
their dogs. That's
thank
how
God
you
we can
developed
walk
the
down the
bill.
street without being stabbed or mugged and be part of a drive-by. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
believe a Democrat, Republican, independent would not like this common sense
Sir,
legislation
do you live
that
in the
keeps people
Washington?
safe.
Do you live in the Washington D.C.
Well, the
area?
gentlelady.
We're all here.
I'm asking
I've
you
been
a
here
question.
9
Are
months.
you a resident of Washington, D.C.?
Recognize her colleague from Louisiana.
Sir, I have my time here. I'm asking the sponsor of the bill. You have debate time on your own. There's plenty of time to debate. Do you live here in the city of
We
Washington,
are all
D.C.?
here in D.C. representing our districts across the country.
Do you guys notice how many times other Republicans dove in to try and help that guy when he was stuck in his lies? When she asked him, have you consulted with a city council? Have you consulted with the mayor? Have you consulted with people who run DC normally? That is before the occupation took place. He had no answers because he hadn't. You know who he spoke to? Just random people walking their streets and the dogs, the people that, Donald Trump keeps repeating these same talking points. You know, that propaganda that I'm supposed to keep saying. What I want is no more drive-bys and people not being able to go to the movies. What I want is people to not be able to get on the trains anymore. You know, all that stuff that they keep saying. They have no answers because they're puppets. They're following behind Donald Trump. They're all fascists. They're looking to continue to keep their power in their positions. And Donald Trump said, if you don't follow me, bro, I'm going to destroy you. They're afraid of him. Thomas Massey just said that the other day. That's why Thomas Massey's on his shit list, because he's defying him on one issue, the child sex trafficking issue. But this guy needed help from, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene jumped in. When he was stuck, you could hear a little lower voice say, Congress has jurisdiction over DC. And then he said, Congress has jurisdiction over DC, when he couldn't say he spoke to the people who actually have jurisdiction over DC. So let me show you guys what's in these bills. I mean, what's in this bill in the 14 different markups, because this is where it gets dark. I know this is long, and I researched this like crazy because I didn't know this was happening, and this is a part of the power grab. We'll look up, and we'll be talking about how Donald Trump went to a restaurant and congratulate him for getting heckled and all that stuff, but then we'll look up, and he'll still do all the things that he wants to do because they're maneuvering and manipulating us while they're telling you, look at that trans person. Let me show you what they're doing. So the supporters of this whole thing, who were led by this oversight committee chair, James Comer, the liar that we first started with, argue that this legislation push is rooted in restoring public safety and ensuring peace and prosperity under Trump's policy. But DC officials, the people officials of the city, including Mayor Muriel Bowser and Council Chairman Phil Mendelson, who that guy never spoke to, condemned the package as a direct assault on home rule and local democracy. Representative Glenn Ivey, speaking from the committee, denounced the measures as a power grab, urging Congress to return the $1.1 billion in local revenue that belongs to the city. Here's some of those ways that they're trying to implement this. Here's the list of these 14 things. I won't go through all of them. I just want to show you some of the more stark ones. The District of Columbia Home Rule Improvement Act imposes a 60-day congressional review of DC council legislation, limits emergency law extensions, adds line item veto authority, and tightens oversight on DC regulations and executive actions. It's limiting their power. Let me find one of the really crazy ones. Let's see. HR 5214, this is number 4. District of Columbia Cash Bail Reform Act mandates pretrial detention and cash bail for defendants charged with public safety offenses. You know how Tom Homan keeps saying we're going after those public safety threats, and none of them are actually public safety threats. They're just arresting people, and then they're collecting money or they're jailing them. This is a part of their sweeping arrest of American citizens, and they're trying to continue and further make it legal for them to do these things. I'm trying to find the one that really number 8, HR 4922, DC criminal reforms to immediately make everyone safer. It sounds so great, right? The summary wasn't provided, but it expands criminal penalties or reforms. In whose forms and whose criminal penalties and to what expansion? Who knows? Donald Trump gets to do what he wants. Number 6, HR, they don't have the number. They're repealing DC Justice Reform Acts, aims to repeal the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act of 2016 and the Second Chance Amendment Act of 2022, which currently they're going to restrict these things, allow some individuals convicted as juveniles to petition for early release. This is what Janine Pirro and them were talking about. They're going to go after younger people. They want to arrest and jail younger folks as adults and send them off to wherever it is they want to send them, or make them some kind of workers for the system in DC. Here's the last one. Number 14, HR 5179, District of Columbia Attorney General Appointment Reform Act. Attorney General Appointment Reform Act. It replaces the elected DC Attorney General with a presidential appointee, immediately terminating the current office holder's term without requiring Senate confirmation. They just put people in place, more yes men, more people that are in the law to do whatever it is this guy wants. This is dictatorial overtaking of Washington, D.C. I read like 4 or 5 of those. There's 14 of them. And they're trying to do it quickly and quietly and not answer any questions about who they coordinated with and why they're actually doing it. But what they're calling it is safety measures for Washington, D.C. What is Donald Trump having direct responsibility and ability to kick out the current DC Attorney General and put in anybody he wants who will do what he says? Kind of like what he did with Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, except they had to overcome those hurdles of getting Senate confirmation. In this case, they don't need that anymore. He does what the fuck he wants to do. And after doing it, there's no arrest records. There's no prison records. There's no agency records of who arrested people, why, and when. They just do it. And then people get to doing that thing that Tom Homan got mad about, someone calling out, Mika Brzezinski called him out, disappearing people. You guys have to read this type of stuff, and it's hard to keep up with it. That's why I really hope you guys are here and listen to all the reading that I'm continuing to like lash out with today. It's so much of it in every aspect of our lives. This is the plan. That's why military is in the streets. That's supposed to be the norm now. It's going to be legalized, and they'll say, "Well, look, it's legal." And the Supreme Court just put a stay on that order that said we can continue to even approach people and arrest them based off of the color of their skin, the language they speak, the accent that they have, and the work that they do. It's all together in this. This was the complicated and well thought out plan, as again the Heritage Foundation guy said, is this takeover of the United States of America. So maybe you guys saw this clip. I'm gonna end with this. This is why Maxwell Frost, in that same hearing where Representative Stansbury kicked those guys' asses around, but they figured, well, nobody's gonna stop us. We can lie in front of everyone and no one will care. Maxwell Frost, another young congressman, laid into Representative Clay Higgins from Louisiana, and they did not like this.
No, I just have a question for my colleague from the state of Louisiana, because I'm curious as to where your bill is. Louisiana is the state with the second highest rate of deaths in this nation. You are more likely to be shot standing on a random street in your state than you are in Washington, D.C. So my question is, where's your bill for the occupation of the state of Louisiana to keep your people safe, if you're at all sincere in this?
Gentlemen, yield for an answer.
I yield for an answer.
I support state rights. I'm a constitutionalist.
But not D.C.?
Stand by. As a constitutionalist, I support my state, my sovereign state's legislature, which is doing everything it can to push back upon the crime rate of the Democrat-controlled cities.
Okay, so I'll take my time back. I'll take my time back.
If you remove
That's the
the
rules.
crime stats
That's
of
the
New
rules. I'll
Orleans,
take my time back.
Louisiana, one of the
I'll take my
safest
time back. So you only invoke the rules
in the
when
country.
other people are speaking, not when you're speaking. Okay.
That's your
I
time.
agree with you. Look, I'm for state sovereignty. So what do you think about California?
Well, California is not where I live. You're asking about my state. I'm
See,
telling
you only care,
you
and
cited
I'll
crime in
reclaim my
state,
time. I'll
so
reclaim
I'm
my
gonna
time.
correct
I'll
you.
reclaim my time.
Crime
I'll
in
reclaim my
state
time. I
is
will
driven by
reclaim
the city
my
of New
time.
Orleans,
The gentleman
and
will
run by
stop
Democrats
speaking. I will
for
reclaim
40
my
years.
time. You're more likely to be shot standing in a random
In New
street in your
Orleans.
state
This is
in
Mr. Frost time,
Louisiana
Mr. Chairman.
than
This is Mr.
anywhere in
Frost time.
Washington, D.C. And you're here because you're lapdogs
Point
to
of
the
order,
President of the
Mr.
United
Chairman.
States, who during the election last year, we
We're
said
taken
time
down,
and time
Mr.
again, I
We're
reclaim my
taken
time.
down, Mr. Chairman.
All right, hold on.
My colleague just called me a lapdog for the President of the United States.
All right.
I move for his
Hold
words
up.
to be taken down.
A second.
We'll
Point of
stand
order.
in. We'll stand in recess for a second here. We will suspend to see about taking the words down.
Maybe you shouldn't be a lapdog to Donald Trump if you don't want to be proven to be a lapdog to Donald Trump. Because everything they're doing is to give him more power. It's where he can sit at his feet and be happily sitting, kissing his crusty toes. That's who these guys are. The weakest of the country are in positions of power, so they wield it because they're weak. Clay Higgins is a lapdog. That's why he wants it stricken from the record. He doesn't want people to remember that that was said. But it's weird thing about striking things from the record in Congress in 2025 is we got video, and we also got your face being a lapdog, getting your head rubbed and your ass kicked. That's it, you guys. It was such a deep dive of a day. I'm telling you, man. We really have to pay attention to what's happening. This is how these things go down. And maybe there's boring, long diatribes in Congress and these oversight hearings, and people get upset at each other, and the fireworks come, and it's only for the sake of, oh, did you see him kick his ass? But there's a lot of meat behind these discussions, man. And it's really hard to keep up with it when everyone has their normal everyday life to go through. I hope to keep finding this stuff and keep presenting it to you. If you guys see any of this stuff, as I always say, find me on Instagram, shoot me some messages. Let me know what you've seen. Let me know maybe where I've gotten it wrong, bro. Maybe you guys know more than I do. Keep expanding it. Let people know about this stuff. This will be up on the watch list page later. I'll break it down further, collect it a little more tightly, and let you guys see it. Share these streams, share this stuff, like it when you see it, man. It really helps because you know, as I said, billionaires are the ones that are benefiting from these things. And they run and own all of these things that we have our platforms to speak from. They can find a way to make sure that enough people don't see it. We need people that are seeing it to let other folks know what's happening. Let them know about it. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys on Friday. Maybe I'll have another Nas drink by then too to get through that day because I'm worried of what more may happen. See you guys tomorrow.